Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
The mysteries surrounding King Solomon have captivated the world for centuries. His wisdom, his wealth, and his architectural feats have filled the pages of ancient texts and legend alike. But among the most astonishing of these legends is a tale not widely known, one that has remained cloaked in secrecy, hidden within the sacred chronicles of Ethiopia. Could it be that King Solomon possessed technology so advanced it would seem like magic? Did the ancient world witness flying machines long before the age of aviation? And more intriguingly, did Ethiopia, one of the most ancient Christian nations in the world, preserve the memory, and perhaps even the blueprints, of these divine crafts? The story begins not in the bustling courts of Jerusalem, but in the highlands of East Africa, where the ancient kingdom of Aksum once reigned with splendor. Ethiopia, a land steeped in biblical tradition, has long claimed a special connection to King Solomon through the Queen of Sheba. According to the Kebra Nagast, the revered 14th-century Ethiopian chronicle, the Queen of Sheba, known as Makeda, traveled from her homeland to meet King Solomon in Jerusalem. She was captivated by his wisdom, and their union bore a son, Menelik, who would later return to Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant. But the Kebra Nagast holds even deeper secrets, rarely explored in the West. Among its mystical verses and theological declarations lies a scattered but suggestive account of heavenly chariots, wings of metal, and divine flight. While many might dismiss such descriptions as symbolic or poetic, modern scholars and Afrocentric researchers have begun to re-examine these ancient texts through a technological lens. Within Ethiopian monastic traditions, especially those maintained by the priests of Aksum, Lalibela, and Lake Tana, there are oral traditions that speak of sky travelers and burning wheels associated with the Solomonic bloodline. These accounts bear eerie similarities to Ezekiel's biblical vision of flying wheels and the Mesopotamian depictions of gods descending from the heavens in shining chariots. Could all these point toward a lost technological capability in the ancient world? Adding weight to these oral legends are the architectural wonders attributed to King Solomon, both in Jerusalem and in Ethiopia. In Jerusalem, the construction of the first temple was an engineering marvel. Biblical texts claim Solomon used stones so massive and precise that modern engineers still puzzle over their placement. In Ethiopia, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela defy conventional understanding. Carved downward into volcanic rock, they reflect techniques unknown in medieval architecture. Local legend holds that angels, or more cryptically, flying assistants, helped with their construction in a single night. Were these simply spiritual metaphors or memories of technology now lost? One cannot overlook the influence of Jewish mysticism and ancient science in these tales. The Sefer Harazim, a lesser-known Hebrew mystical text, describes communication with angels through mechanisms of metal and fire. Similarly, the Book of Enoch, preserved in full only in the Ethiopian Orthodox canon, recounts the descent of watchers who taught humanity metallurgy, astronomy, and weaponry. These beings descended in bright vessels, and some interpretations suggest these were more than mere visions, they were vehicles. Ethiopia is the only country where the Book of Enoch has remained intact since antiquity. Might this preservation offer more than spiritual insight? Might it also hint at a forgotten chapter of human ingenuity? The concept of ancient flying machines is not confined to Ethiopian texts. Sanskrit epics from India speak of vimanas, flying palaces powered by fire and mercury. The ancient Egyptians depicted winged discs and boats of the sun traveling through the sky. The Mayan and Incan civilizations crafted golden artifacts resembling modern fighter jets. And yet, what makes Ethiopia unique is the continuity of its religious and cultural memory, passed down through unbroken monastic lineages and rituals dating back over 2 millennia. Unlike other cultures whose traditions were interrupted by conquest or colonization, Ethiopia maintained its independence, and its sacred texts largely untouched. There are also peculiar artifacts that bolster this line of questioning. In 1937, Italian invaders looted several monastic libraries and chapels in Ethiopia during Mussolini's occupation. Some reports, though often buried or unverified, spoke of scrolls and manuscripts describing machines of light and fire used by Solomon's priests. These documents allegedly vanished into private collections or Vatican vaults. Ethiopian monks at Lake Tana's monasteries, who still write using ancient Guizi script, have hinted at diagrams and coded knowledge handed down from Solomon's time but kept hidden from outsiders for fear of misuse. When asked, they often smile and say, "These are not for the curious, they are for the righteous." Recent archaeological work has uncovered inscriptions and metallic relics in Aksum and Ya that suggest a high level of craftsmanship using alloys uncommon in the region's known historical period. Although mainstream historians attribute this to trade with the Greeks or South Arabians, some Ethiopian scholars argue that these were indigenous innovations inspired by ancestral teachings from Jerusalem. The Solomonic dynasty, which ruled Ethiopia until the 20th century, claimed descent not only from Solomon but also spiritual inheritance of his divine gifts, including wisdom over nature and technology. It is also worth noting that ancient Ethiopian iconography often depicts winged objects, stars with spirals, and light beams descending upon enthroned kings. While modern eyes may interpret these as symbolic or allegorical, when juxtaposed with similar imagery from ancient Sumer, Egypt, and India, a pattern emerges, an ancient global consciousness that perhaps knew more about flight and energy than we give credit for. Yet why would such knowledge disappear? History has shown that when civilizations fall, or when knowledge is guarded too zealously, it often vanishes into legend. The Library of Alexandria was burned. Mayan codices were destroyed by conquistadors. Many African kingdoms were decimated before their histories could be recorded in Western ways. Ethiopia, secluded by geography and protected by faith, may have simply chosen to preserve rather than share. As the Kebra Nagast warns, "Do not give that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine." Today, as humanity races to develop artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and space travel, the idea that ancient peoples once touched the skies no longer seems quite so absurd. Perhaps they did so with divine assistance, or perhaps they simply mastered sciences we've only now begun to rediscover. Ethiopia's silent mountains and secretive monks may still hold pieces of that puzzle, waiting for a world wise enough to listen. Until then, we can only marvel at the hints left behind, texts that whisper of metal wings, of chariots that breathe fire, and of a king whose name still echoes across continents. Solomon's flying machines may or may not have been real, but the fact that such tales have endured in Ethiopia's sacred memory speaks to something profoundly powerful, the human desire to transcend the earth and touch the divine.